Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Cabinet Member meeting for Adults, Health and Housing. On the call today, we have Dominic Monaghan and Karen Squires and Lindsay Stevens from Democratic Services, Karen Brearley, Louise Brown and Ian Fulliger from Strategic Housing, Claire Mabani from Derby Homes, Councillor Shiraz Khan, and myself, Councillor Roy Webb. If we move on to the agenda, then item 2 is late items to be introduced by the chair, and under late items there are the minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of October. So they are the late item.
Could I just add that there were no apologies for the meeting? That was item 1.
Oh, sorry, yes. Thank you, Lindsay. No apologies. Thank you. And declarations of interest. I don't have any. Councillor Khan?
No, Roy, I don't have any.
Okay, thank you. And then can we move on to item 4, which are the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of October 2020. I have no items to raise on that, so I consider they're acceptable. Is that agreed?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. In that case, then, we move on to item 5, which is the acquisition of a one-bedroom masonette in Abbey Ward.
Councillor Webb, would it be possible to agree the minutes of the 12th October before we move on to the housing?
I was going to deal with that as a late item, Lindsay.
Okay, I apologise. Sorry, my mistake.
On the agenda as such.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Thank you for the guidance. So if we move on to item 5, the masonette in Abbey Ward.
Okay. Right.
I believe that's Karen Brearley.
Yes, it is. Right. So this report seeks the approval of the acquisition of a one-bed masonette in the Abbey Ward. The property has actually been got a negotiated purchase price of £80,000, which is in line with our valuation. Property was marketed for £84,950 and our valuation was between 75 and 80,000. The proposal is for the property to be purchased utilising HRA and right to buy receipts, although we do actually have a next steps grant application in, and where that is successful, we would seek to utilise the alternative funding for that property and to utilise the property within that programme. The property is a one-bedroom ground floor masonette built circa 1905 and converted in roughly 1995 into individual separate properties. Demand for this type of property in this location has been confirmed with our allocations team. There is some works that will need to be done to the property to meet our lettable standard, and those works are not expected to exceed just under £18,000. That includes a new gas central heating system, new kitchen bathroom, new front door and side panel and double glazing, and we will look at the electrical installation including smoke and heat detectors and undertake works to the windows and the internal doors. So our acquisition cost is with stamp duty and fees comes in at just over £100,000. For the purposes of our appraisal, we actually break even with a surplus in year 25 and break even in year 37. That appraisal has been undertaken with the right to buy receipts at 30%. Break even will be reduced if the property is used within the NSAP programme and the grant is applied at 50%. So our proposal is for the property to be acquired, and also we would also like to include that subject to the approval of the NSAP bid, detailed at 4.5 and 4.6 of the report, to agree to approve the property for the NSAP programme in accordance with item 2.5 of the MHCLG Next Steps Accommodation Programme Grant Application 2020/21 report, which was approved at the urgent leader of the Council Cabinet member meeting, which was held on the 18th.
Thank you. So does that make that recommendation 2.4, Karen?
Yes, it would be 2.4.
Okay. And again, as properties that we are discussing this afternoon will be next steps, then 2.4 will be added to all the recommendations for the properties.
We are proposing that that is included for all 5 of the reports that we are discussing today.
Thank you. And would it be possible to brief members in the wards where these properties are about the next steps accommodation if the grant application is successful?
Yes, we can actually arrange a meeting with the ward members to discuss and give them further information about the NSAP programme.
Thank you very much indeed. In that case, I've no issues with the report, and I will recommend that 2.1.4 be accepted.
Thank you, Councillor Webb.
Any further comments?
Nope.
No.
Okay, in that case, we can move on to item 6, which is a acquisition of a 1-bedroom apartment in Darley Ward.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. So this report seeks the approval to purchase a 1-bedroom apartment in Darley Ward. We have negotiated a purchase price of $97,000 for this property, which is in line with our valuation range, which was between 95 and 100,000, and the property was actually marketed for 100,000. This is a 1-bedroom ground floor property, and it was built approximately in 1970. Cavity brick walls with a flat roof covering a 2nd storey. We do have demand for this type of property and in this location. This property would be purchased utilising the HRA and right to buy receipts, but again, where the NSAP grant funding is actually approved, we would seek to utilise that grant funding instead of the right to buy receipts. It might be worth just clarifying on that. With all these properties, we cannot combine the use of right to buy receipts and Homes England grant funding. The property does require some works, including a new boiler, a new fire door, new kitchen and bathroom, and we would also overhaul the electrical installation, including smoke and heat detectors, along with the windows and internal doors. The costs are not expected to exceed £16,172. The actual appraisal will actually produce an operational surplus from year 33 with a break even in year 41. That is based on right to buy receipts at 30%, so break even will be reduced if the NSAP grant is successful and this property is incorporated within that programme. Again, we would recommend that this property is approved for acquisition and refurbishment, and again that where the NSAP bid is approved, that it is incorporated within that programme as per the urgent leader approval on the 18th of August 2020.
Okay, that means that 2.4 will then come into play, as I said in the earlier position, and that means that members will be briefed. I am pleased to note that we have got a proposed improvement to the energy performance certificate rating, which is currently D, and we are looking to move this target to energy performance rating of C. So that's pleasing to see that the works that we're carrying out will improve the energy efficiency of the building. So can I then move, unless there are any further comments, if I can then move to recommendations 2.1 to 2.4 and accept those recommendations. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Next item, an acquisition of a 2-bed maisonette in Darley Ward.
So this report seeks the approval for the acquisition of a 2-bedroom maisonette in the Darley Ward. The property has got a negotiated purchase price of £89,000, which actually is within the valuation range of 86 to 89,000. The property was actually marketed for 100,000, but the vendor has accepted our offer. The property would be funded from the HRA and right to buy receipts, although if the NSAP grant funding is successful, we would look to incorporate this property within that programme and substitute the right to buy receipts for the NSAP grant. This is a 2-bedroom first floor maisonette, built circa 1996, with cavity brick walls and a pitched timber frame roof with concrete tiles. We do know that we have demand for this type of property and in this location. The property will actually need again to have some works undertaken to it, including central heating, a new front door, new double glazing, overhaul of the electrical installation and windows and internal doors, new bathroom. We will also improve the loft insulation, and we do actually have a contingency in this property that there are some integrated appliances, and if they do not pass the PAT testing, we will carry out additional works to the kitchen to accommodate the removal of those appliances. The total cost is not expected to exceed £108,733, and that means we would achieve an operational surplus from year 29 with a break even in year 39, with that's utilising right to buy receipts at 30%. Break even will be reduced if the NSAP grant is applied at 50%. So our recommendation is that again that property is approved for purchase, and the improvement works, and again subject to the approval of the NSAP bid detailed at 4.5 and 4.6 of the report, to agree to approve the property for the NSAP programme in accordance with item 2.5 of the MHCLG Next Steps Accommodation Programme Grant Application 2020-21 report, which was approved at the urgent leader of the Council Cabinet member meeting held on the 18th of August 2020.
I'm glad you said that. Can I throw in the curveball for today and say, are we not doing the new meter cupboard door?
Sorry, we are doing the meter covered door, Councillor Webb.
Okay, thank you very much. So in that case, we then have recommendations 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and the one you have just read out, which will be 2.4, unless there are any further comments. In that case, then I'll accept those recommendations. Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 8, acquisition of a 2-bedroomed apartment in Mackworth Ward.
Okay, so this report seeks the approval of a 2-bedroom apartment in the Mackworth Ward. We have a negotiated purchase price of £95,000. The property was actually marketed for offers over 95,000, and our valuation range was 94 to 98,000. So that does come in line with our valuation. It is proposed that the property is purchased utilising HRA and right to buy receipts. Although again, where the NSAP grant funding application is successful, it is proposed that this property is moved into that programme. The property is a 2-bedroom apartment, and it was completed, redeveloped roughly in 2008. Cavity brick walls with a pitched roof. We are aware that we do have demand for this type of property and in this location. The works, there are some works that would need doing to this property, although due to the age of the property, they are minimal, and those costs are not expected to exceed £1,664, and that allows for overhaul of the electrical installation, including smoke and heat detectors, some work to the boxing in the bathroom, and we have a contingency for new carpet to the property. The total costs are not expected to exceed £99,806, and with right to buy receipts at 30%, we achieve an operational surplus from year 24 with a break even in year 36. Break even will actually improve if this property is transferred into the NSAP and the grant is applied at 50%. So again, our proposal is that this property we do proceed with the acquisition and the works to the property, and subject to the approval of the NSAP bid detailed at 4.5 and 4.6 of the report, to agree to approve the property for the NSAP programme in accordance with item 2.5 of the MHCLG Next Steps Accommodation Programme Grant Application 2020-21 report, which was approved at the urgent leader of the Council Cabinet member meeting held on the 18th of August 2020.
And again, that would be recommendation 2.4.
Yes.
And unless there are any further comments on this one, can I move that we accept recommendation 2.1 to 2.4 and purchase this property? Thank you.
Thank you.
In that case, we move on. I think this is the last one. Item 9, acquisition of a 1-bedroom apartment in Arboretum Ward.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. So this report seeks the approval for the purchase of a 1-bedroom apartment in the Arboretum Ward. The negotiated purchase price has been reached of £95,000. The property was actually marketed for 100,000, and our valuation range came at 95 to 100,000. So it does demonstrate value for money. We proposed to purchase the property utilising the HRA and right to buy receipts applied at 30%, although we propose that this property is included within the NSAP programme if our grant application is successful. The property is a 1-bedroom 4th floor apartment which was converted circa 2018. We do have demand for this type of property and in this location. The property requires minimal works, so those costs are not expected to exceed £1,997, and that allows for overhauling of the windows, handles, hinges and restrictors, overhauling the electrical installation including smoke and heat detectors, and overhauling the pipework in the bathroom. The total cost of just over 100,000, if we utilise the right to buy receipts, gives us an operational surplus from year 25 with a break even in year 37, and break even will be reduced if the NSAP grant is applied at 50% instead of the right to buy receipts. This one is already at an EPC rating of C. So our proposal is to proceed with the acquisition and the works required for this property, and subject to the approval of the NSAP bid detailed at 4.5 and 4.6 of the report, to agree to approve the property for the NSAP programme in accordance with item 2.5 of the MHCLG Next Steps Accommodation Programme Grant Application 2020-21 report, which was approved at the urgent leader of the Council Cabinet member meeting held on the 18th of August 2020.
Thank you very much. And again, that will be recommendation 2.4.
Yes.
I have no further comments on this, so unless anybody else has. No, in that case I'll move recommendation 2.1 to 2.4 and approve purchase of this property.
Thank you, Councillor Webb.
I think that we now move on to the late item, which is the approval of the minutes on the 12th of October. I have no issues with the minutes. Does anybody else?
No, Councillor Webb.
Nope.
Okay, in that case we can approve the minutes, and that will then conclude the meeting. So thank you very much for attending the meeting, and